People don't tell women the truth these days. Men get told the truth all the time. Women have no problem telling a man, I don't want an average man. It happens every day on my show. TLC said they don't want no scrubs, and we have no problem telling average men, you ain't crap. But if I just happen to have the nerve to agree with the woman that says she's average, then I'm Satan. I think that's interesting.
What's up, my guys? Here's a term we should all become familiar with: toxic femininity. If you're a woman listening to this, hear me out before you get your panties in a bunch. Since our society only chooses to focus on toxic masculinity, I'm here to provide you with my list of the top 5 toxic femininity traits. Number 1, utter disdain for men. Usually these are the women that categorize all men with the stereotypical toxic masculinity traits. Here's another shocker, ladies. Just because someone has a Y chromosome does not mean that their only intention is to sleep with you, cheat on you, or traumatize you with their uncontrollable aggression and anti-feminist behavior. Number 2, always trying to outman men. It's funny to me that the same women who want to be equal to men also pray for the downfall of men. Amazing how that works. Ladies, if you spend your entire life trying to prove to men that you can be better than them, you'll attract none of them and kickstart the extinction of the human race. Disrespect for traditional gender roles. I'm going to speak directly to the men with this one. Just because some voices are louder doesn't mean that others don't exist. There are still women out there that believe in and respect traditional gender roles. No accountability. Toxic women bask in oppression and victimhood. It's their go-to excuse whenever they're confronted with irrational behavior. If a woman isn't willing to take accountability and instantly rationalizes her actions with her oppression, you're fighting a losing battle. And lastly, inflated egos. These are the women that have literally no respect for themselves, but feel that because they're a woman, they deserve nothing less than a Wall Street billionaire with a purity ring who agrees with literally everything they say.
You see, the thing is, toxic femininity is the downfall of modern women, and they don't even know it. It's not about female progression, it's all about male castration. Feminists don't want equality. They can't handle equality. What they want is to rule and dominate over men, and that's not going to happen. And that's where they start referring to us as toxic masculinity, when they can't have it their way. And she's right. Like, why would I want to be with a girl that's going to be competing with me? If we're in a relationship, then we should be building each other, not at each other's throat.
What is it that is needed to be said, and what is it that you're fighting right now?
Don't fall for feminism. Feminism is a lie, especially this new radical version of feminism that has embraced this transgender ideology, has embraced radical gender ideology. You need to reject that, because feminism is responsible for the masculinization of women, and it's led to the murder of 63 million babies. It's tearing apart marriage, it's tearing apart society, and it's turned into a women's supremacy movement. Yeah. Women now are trying to have this boss babe independent attitude, saying, I'm better than men. Men are trash. Men are the worst. Hashtag kill all men, trending on Twitter a while back. And so that's really the thing that is tearing the country apart most, because women always set the standard of a culture, and if we don't hold that standard pretty high, then the culture's kind of going to go to shambles.
Agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be personal.
A lot of us live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating, because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble, and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
I notice whenever you stand up to them and their agenda, they always try to ridicule you. Like, why are you talking over her? Why are you laughing over her, trying to drown her out? And what does it matter if she's a white woman from Australia? She's not supposed to have an opinion because she's a white woman from Australia?
I know how to stand up to a man who's unfairly trespassing against me. And the reason I know that is because the parameters for my resistance are quite well defined, which is we talk, we argue, we push, and then it becomes physical, right? Like if we move beyond the boundaries of civil discourse, we know what the next step is. Okay, that's forbidden in discourse with women. And so I don't think that men can control crazy women. When men are talking to each other in any serious manner, that underlying threat of physicality is always there, especially if it's a real conversation, and it keeps the thing civilized to some degree. You know, if you're talking to a man who wouldn't fight with you under any circumstances whatsoever, then you're talking to someone to whom you have absolutely no respect. Like, it seems to me that it isn't men that have to stand up and say enough of this, even though that is what they should do. It seems to me that it's sane women who have to stand up against their crazy sisters and say, look, enough of that, enough man-hating, enough pathology, enough bringing disgrace on us as a gender. But the problem there is that most of the women I know who are sane are busy doing sane things, right? They're off, they have their career, they have their family, they're quite occupied, and they don't seem to have the time or maybe even the interest to go after their crazy harpy sisters. And so I don't see any regulating force for that terrible femininity. And it seems to me to be invading the culture and undermining the masculine power of the culture in a way that's, I think, fatal.
You see, he's exactly right here. When dealing with another guy, if that guy crosses a line or assaults you in any way and you punch him in the mouth, everyone will give you a tap on the shoulder for standing up for yourself. However, you can't do that with a female, or else those same people are going to turn on you. But thanks to toxic femininity and all their bullshit, the tables are turning. Y'all want equality? Well, now it's equal rights, equal lefts. Gentlemen, don't let anyone abuse you regardless of gender. Because believe me when I tell you, if you allow a female to walk over you, or you let other females see another female walking all over you, they will never respect you.
That for teenage boys now, they are so terrified of the consequences of putting a foot out of line. It's hard enough being a young teenager, working out how things are, working out how to do dating and all of that, without the terror that if you touch in the wrong place at the wrong time, you may find that your whole life is destroyed.
See, I
and
like
there is
that
far
terror.
too much. Well,
I like that.
As a
I
mother
think
of
that
a
men
teenage
should be
boy, I
frightened.
don't like
Really?
that
That's
terror.
the most
I do.
malicious thing I've ever
That
heard.
is
I
awful.
think that men should be frightened
I think
to
you'd
touch
feel
women in a way
differently
that
if you
they're
were,
not
if
comfortable
you were.
with.
But we're talking about
Yeah, but we're not
teenage
talking
years,
about. We're
children.
not talking about.
We're talking
yeah, but
about
it's an
young
interesting
children.
thing that you see. I would say that attitude actually is part of the problem too. That is that's to me toxic femininity.
It is.
That is saying you should all be terrified, you men, if you put one
assaulting.
Well, I think we all understand what sexual
What is an
assault is.
assault?
What Isabel's talking about is that young teenage clumsiness
really
in many
hard.
cases, which is now being recategorized as assault. Is that a problem?
It's not being recategorized as assault. It's always been assault. It's just we're finally talking about
I don't agree
it.
with that. But I do think it's really hard for a 16, 17-year-old boy now in this environment to know even how to start
they are all
having kind of some
terrified.
kind of physical relationship with a woman.
Those good boys are all terrified. I know that from talking to my son. He's just like, I'm just not going there. Is that healthy?
Yes, I
The
think
other
it is
point-
actually. I think it's better to not have a physical relationship than to have one that could ruin a woman's life.
But then how do they ever start?
Well, don't. If you're not 100%
Don't.
sure,
What? Are we going
don't.
for-
What are you going to have? A bunch of neutered
Celibate?
boys who
But
never
it's
had...
so obvious.
We actually
It's
do
sort
have
of
that.
like-
Gen Z is having far less sexual relationships
Yes,
than any
they
ever
are.
before.
It's true.
So let me just get this straight. In the last few years, a biological male has been named Woman of the Year on several magazine covers. A biological male is referenced as a top-ranking female in our White House. A biological male was named the NCAA Women's Swimmer of the Year. A biological male is making tens of thousands of dollars being the face of womanhood for Nike, for Tampax, for Bud Light, for Kate Spade, and countless other companies. A biological male took home the award for Best Actress at the Golden Globes. Are we really still trying to make the case that feminism supports women when the feminists are completely silent and or cheering on biological men taking over the space of women? Somebody spell this out for me.
You see, the thing is, like I've said it before, time after time after time, that in the long run, it's women that's gonna be feeling the brunt of this bullshit that's going on. Because as you can see, when these transgender go into female sports, they dominate, which means that all opportunities that female was supposed to get taken away from them. And now you see these big brands are using biological men to promote their stuff, once again taking opportunities away from women, and women still are supporting this bullshit. Don't y'all see that y'all are the ones that are losing? And this is why we need women like these to stand up to the bullshit, because if y'all don't speak up, it's just gonna get worse, and y'all are the ones that are gonna be losing.
Men are dying, and they're dying from this condition. And the condition they're dying from is being hated, being discriminated against. In a sense, if you look at the figures of men who lose their homes, their families, their children, and most of them, 90% of those homeless men are there as a result of domestic violence. They've been kicked out, they've been lost. We look at that, I think it's a form of genocide. I really do. I can't see anywhere in history when women have turned on men like this, men as who are the protectors, men who are out working. 75% of taxes are paid by men who are there, and they are working for their wives, their children, and their families. Any man who knows that there are accusations against him knows he will probably lose his job. If he has children, he has to move out of his house. This is only allegations, no evidence. Has to move out of his house, and it'll take over a year before there'll be any kind of a court case. The woman, and it's 99.9%, it's women who are making these allegations. These women get paid from the moment she makes the allegation with no evidence, can hand out up to $500,000.
And this is why men are refusing to get married. This is why you got the passport bro movement of men moving overseas to find traditional women to start families with. And this is why that I say to you, bro, stop worrying about these females. Focus on yourself, build yourself up, go to the gym, work out, get in the best possible shape that you can get. Grind, hustle, stack that bank account. Stop worrying about these females, because all this is gonna do is work against you. Focus on yourself, and trust me when I tell you, when you do that, the right one is gonna come around. And if that fails, then you grab your fucking passport, bro, and you fly overseas. Get yourself a traditional woman. Stop bowing down to these Western women.